motivation you need, food for thought indeed. Coming from Life Coach D, spiritual nuggets you need to help you succeed. Coming from Life Coach D.
Greetings. What's up, everybody? This is Life Coach D coming at you, and I'm coming at you once again with my 30 for 30 celebration. This is part 2 of my conversation with Troy McAdams. Troy, thank you so much for sitting down and doing this with me.
My pleasure.
So we're going to pivot a little bit from where we left off, and we had talked about what had happened when he was a lot younger. And so I just wanted to talk to Troy today, and we had just talked about this earlier today, and I think this is worth sharing. One of the things that has guided my relationships with people is the way my mom allowed our relationship to mentor and mature and grow.
Yeah.
She was really, really careful with allowing our relationship to mature in a way that there was always respectability.
Nice.
And this is how I've garnered all of the relationships that I have. And so with that being said, is anybody out there watching, what you're looking at is a 20+ year relationship now that because of my mom, I've been able to garner Troy with a whole bunch of other people. So this is what makes a 30 for 30 so amazing. So with that being said, Troy, what I would like for you to do is share with everybody part of your matriculation process, of course, what you feel comfortable sharing, but I know there's been a lot of things that we've walked you through and a lot of things we've navigated you through. But I would love for you to share with people what it looks like on the other side of our smiles and on the other side of the faces that we learn to put on. And something I think will be pivotal for those out there who are trying to just be authentic and living life, not only realistically, but a life of faith, but one with practicality as well. How does that all look, and how do we master together to still be just human, but men of God and just people who are living life, but also growing and maturing along the way?
Cool. Yeah, I want to thank you, Coach D, for starting a relationship as a coach, and then now I feel like we are co-laborers in the process of mentoring and empowering the next generation. So, as you said, your mom gave you that gift of showing you how it looks to matriculate and change the dynamic of the relationship as we mature. As a youth, as a young person, we are born into a family of origin, I call that foo, and we come from a culture of origin, I call that ku. And those are things we can't control, but there are things that definitely affect us and shape the way we see things, the way we feel, even how we respond to different scenarios, how we view different things, from pop culture to friendships to values and what we believe in. And so understanding as you get older that we all have a foo and we all have a ku, and it doesn't mean they're wrong, but it also doesn't mean they're right. And we get to really critically analyze, where did I come from and how did this affect me? And it doesn't have to be always a single traumatic event. It can be just a culture or a family origin of how they repeatedly taught you something or showed you something or discouraged something or encouraged something else. And so I think a lot of times we don't want to look into that because it hurts too much. We don't want to look into it because we feel we're being disrespectful. But as adults, we should have the self-awareness and the autonomy to be able to say, no, this is my life. I get to choose the direction, but in order to choose which direction, you have to know where you started from.
That's really good.
So in geometry, you have a vector. A vector is a point and a direction.
Right.
So that point is the foo and the ku, where you came from, and the direction is where you're headed. But if you don't know where that point of origin is, your direction will be all over the place because you don't clearly identify where you're starting.
So with that being said, I want to lead into a couple things, and I will let you flow. So how difficult is it when you're trying to navigate the things that I was taught that were inaccurate, but they were taught in such a way, as you say, the ku, to where it becomes so much a part of you that you're now trying to peel away what is you today based on what you know that has not been, let's just say, healthy or a part of the process that's maturing you in a better way. How do you separate it? How have you divided, okay, this part of the ku was good, but here's the part of the ku that I need to eliminate so that I can better grow myself? How have you navigated?
Obviously, you can have mirrors, but those mirrors are usually people or situations which show the difference between what you believe or how you process something, how someone else processes. And you can do that intentionally as you get older, putting yourself in diverse circumstances, traveling. These are all ways to kind of shake that ku and fu that you thought that is the way the world is how to view things. But I think if you're not intentional about it, or you're a young person, you don't realize this, it is being exposed to different cultures. It is being exposed to different people, different situations. It could be going away to college. It could be getting a job. But you really have to create some level of separation for you to be able to see from an outside perspective, because as long as you are in the culture of origin or the family of origin, they are going to reinforce and to the point hold so tightly that you will be criticized, demonized, and even they could take away practical resources to disable you in order for you not to leave that perspective that they hold so precious and dear. And it's reinforced by church, it's reinforced by family and friends. So all of this is an ecosystem that's been built, and it has its purpose, and you can stay in your hometown and never leave and just live by that, but you'll never get to where God wants you to go, because if you follow the idea or the principle of Matthew 28:18, it's go ye therefore.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean you have to leave your city to do good work or to do ministry, but it does mean you need to go from where you started to where he's calling you. And so when you ask, well, who's supposed to go? It says go ye. Well, who's ye? We are the ye. We the ye. So you got to take that and, okay, he's calling me to go. He's calling me to work or make things. He's calling me to immerse or be immersed in a culture that is godly, holy, set apart, healthy. And then he's called to make disciples, which is teach people the blessings and the benefits of what you've learned from people who are based on the word and full of the spirit. And then also what God's showing you. What I'm learning is not just for me. I need to process it so I can teach it to the next generation, to the next person coming up, so that his kingdom will come on earth. It's not about me being on TV and me having a microphone. It's how many people can I touch who will then go and touch the world.
So if I had to narrow you down to two things, right? What have been two, let's say, pivotal things that you've had to either let go of so that you can grow into, or that you had to release from your identity so that you can more identify with who God has created you to be?
That's good. I'm going to say my evangelical churchiness, my evangelical churchies, the Bible-based and only Bible, no spirit ethos of evangelical Protestant Christianity, which is tied into melanin deficient people groups from the north of Europe, and also Americanness, which is entitlement, independence. God promised me whatever I want. It's God owes me, he works for me, he co-signs what I want. So I think those two big ideas culturally, like the independence, I generation, Disney, be whatever you want to be, I had to really struggle with that. And then the evangelical Christianity that limits God and people to boxes so that it can keep order. So those two things flesh themselves in many different ways, but if there's two, I would say evangelical Christianity and American cultural identity.
Got you. Do you think that had you not taken the trip to the Far East, that you would be where you are today? And how has that been pivotal in your maturation process?
That's a great question. I'll give a little bit of context and I'll answer your question directly. I studied Spanish from the time of middle school till I got a degree in Spanish from Cal State University. I also studied in Mexico for 2 summers while I was in university. I worked part-time, didn't have to pay much rent, so I paid my way for these cultural exchanges. I think 1 year was $2,000 and 1 year was like $4,000, but that was valuable to me, so I invested that. And I lived in central Mexico, and I learned the language and the culture, and I was able to get a second language, so that offered a second perspective.
You immersed yourself.
So I had 1D, if we're gonna go dimensions with languages, I had 1D with English, I had 2D with Spanish, and then moving to the Far East gave me that third dimension. So not just language, culture is embedded with language, and then with the spirit inside, I feel like I'm working in time-space continuum as well, because it's that discernment, that knowing, that feeling of when God moves, when God speaks. So I think expanding the horizons through language and culture and travel, but then also a huge part of that is you asking and you praying and you talking to wise people. Proverbs says, with the multitude of counselors and succeed. Do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path. So I think not just, okay, so I'm going to travel to Costa Rica this year, and then Japan next year, and then I'll be 3D. No. These steps are sovereign, these steps are providential.
Yes.
And I can tell you how they came about. The Mexico bit, I had spent, from the age of 10, I had been going to Mexico with the church and then with my grandfather for nearly 30 years. So I had a lot of skin in the game when I went to Mexico, not just like, hey, first time. I had been in Baja California, which is like Tijuana, Ensenada, okay,
Yes.
15 years before I ever got into college and got the degree, and studied in Mexico as a student for 5 weeks each summer.
Right.
And then when I went to China, it was kind of the opposite way. He called me to China. I found a program that sent me to China, and instead of learning it by the book for 15 years and being integrated with the Mexican culture, it was like, bink, learn it, survival, fully immersion.
Yeah.
And so all those were very divine and strategic by the Lord. And yes, I had some feelings of what I wanted to do, but at the end of the day, he called, he authored, and he directed those moves.
That's good. That's good. So the immersion, and there was a process to you getting to where you were. So China, would you say, was a part of the ultimate plan anyway? You're immersing young into Hispanic culture, and then obviously being immersed into China as well.
And we can take one step back and saying being born and raised in California, which in the U.S. is a very diverse, multicultural society.
Yes.
The high school where I met you was called Rancho Buena Vista. So I mean, Mexican street names, the missions that the Spanish built on the California coast, it was already in my DNA, so to speak. So that was the door to Mexico. The China thing was just a God thing, of him calling me out and saying, all right, go here, I trust you, you know how to learn culture, you know anything about this language, you know very limited about the culture, but I've seen your work, I've seen what you've done on a local level, on a regional level, on a North America, South America level, so now I'm going to trust you with intercontinental.
So, got you. Side note for everybody watching, the jewels he just dropped about Rancho Buena Vista High School and where we are immersed in California says a lot about what is not being talked about today, and the fact that it's a heavy Spanish culture here, and we'll leave that where that's at. It's just for 2025.
Yeah, for sure.
So that concludes episode 2 with my interview with Mr. Troy McAdams. We definitely delved into a lot. We talked about things, whether it was spiritual, we talked about more mental and physical, and even emotional. And I hope that it was a help to you guys. Stay tuned as we conclude, but we also dig into a little bit more of what it looks like to go from a young adult into mature manhood. We'll be back soon.